And we're back. This is take 3, actually. I mentioned last week that we wanted to do an About Us video, and so that's what this is a little bit of our story and a get to know us a little bit, and we actually recorded like 6 minutes already, and my camera stopped, and then I realized the microphone wasn't on, so we wasted a bunch. So anyway, so yeah, this is about our story, how we met, and basically how we ended up where we are today.
Yeah, just a little background about us. I grew up in Georgia. Glenn grew up in Lehigh, Utah. And after I graduated high school, I moved to Utah to go to school at Brigham Young University. Glenn's sister ended up being my roommate my junior year of school. And that's kind of where our story starts.
Yeah, pretty much. My sister Andrea, same name, she had a feeling it was time to move out. So she moved down by BYU and moved in with Andrea and her sister, Andrea's sister Stacy, and one of their good friends, Megan, and was their roommate. And my family helped move her in. And after they're done moving in, my dad called me and left me a voicemail actually and said, "We met your wife, you need to go meet your wife." And I'd just gotten out of a relationship 6 months before, and great relationship, but the breakup was really hard, and so I didn't want really anything to do with dating at the moment. I was gone on a couple dates since then, but the girls were ditzy and I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I didn't like games, and so I was done basically when my dad left me that voicemail. So it took me a couple days to go over there. I went over there and finally we played games that night, and I went over with one of my friends who I'd been hanging out with a lot, and neither one of us were dating anybody, so it worked out great. We spent a lot of time, we're bachelors. We drove to California several times, that's where he was from, and basically just hung out a lot. And so he went over with me. His name was Brian. He went over with me, and he thought Andrea's sister Stacy was cute. Stacy was a lot more bubbly and outgoing and loud than Andrea. Andrea was very reserved, and he kind of convinced me to go on a date with Stacy first. So I went on a date with Stacy, and it wasn't the greatest date I've been on. It's probably one of the worst dates I went on. Not necessarily because of Stacy, partly because of Stacy. We just don't mesh very well that way. And we found out pretty quickly on that date that it was a double date with my sister Andrea, and it was just kind of an awkward, not so fun date. So I decided I wasn't going to try to date Stacy anymore after that. And then I started to get to know Andrea a little bit better. I had moved out of my apartment and back in with my parents for a few weeks. I quit work and was trying to figure out where I wanted to go. I had a feeling to quit my job. I was selling cars and I was making good money, so I don't know I quit, but I felt like I needed to. And during those 3 weeks is when my sister moved down and became Andrea's roommate. I moved in all my stuff from my apartment, all my stereo stuff, my home theater and TV and stuff, and so I went down there a lot to watch movies, and that's how I got to know Andrea a little bit better.
Yeah, we just became good friends. Like, we wanted to spend time together and hang out, but he wasn't looking to get married. And I had, my freshman year of college, I had dated this guy pretty seriously, but he had been gone for almost 2 years, serving a mission for our church, and he was coming home in a few months, and so I had my mindset that I was going to wait for him to get home, and then we were going to get married, and so I wanted to be friends with Glenn and hang out with him and other guys, and I went on a bunch of dates with other guys, but I just wasn't looking for anything serious. So we just hung out a bunch and got to know each other pretty well, and I guess around April of 2007, I was beginning to like Glenn a lot and wanted to be more than friends, but I was so conflicted because I felt like this guy who was on a mission deserved me to wait for him to get home to see how things were going to work out with us. But it was frustrating for Glenn because he'd want to hold my hand, and then I would hold it for a second and then pull away because I would feel guilty or whatever.
It was really frustrating.
Yeah. I had gotten to know his family really well because I knew him and Andrea, and his brother got married in April, and somehow I got talked into going and babysitting his nieces during the wedding reception.
I'm not sure why you did that.
So I was, probably because I'm nice.
You're too nice to say no.
I'm too nice. But so I watched his nieces and hung out with him at the reception, and he looked really nice in his suit for the wedding, and we were just having a great time together. And afterwards was kind of when I realized that I needed to give him more of a chance, I think.
By that point, by the time my brother was getting married, that was April 13th, and by the time he was getting married, I was basically had given up on the idea of Andrea and I dating by that point. Because, well, we'd be watching movies at her house or her apartment, and I'd go to hold her hands and she'd pull it away like she said, and it was really frustrating. So I was basically done. I wasn't expecting anything to go anywhere, and so my brother's wedding was on the 13th, and then the next day we went to my sister's house, and they were having a movie night, and I can't even remember what movie it was, but I was I was bored, and Brian, my friend, texted me and asked if I want to come down and hang out and play pool at his apartment, and I said yes, and so I left Andrea there with my sisters, and so I left her there and went and hung out and played pool with my friend. But we would message back and forth on each other's walls, basically. And so she was right on my wall, and then I think she ended up texting me, and I could tell she was sad that night, and she didn't tell me why. I was playing pool, and then I left Brian's apartment complex, and I decided to swing by and visit Andrea because she did sound sad in her texts. So I swung by. She came out to my car, and we were just talking in the car, and before this, I gave her a goodnight kiss on the cheek often when I was hoping that we would start dating. But that night I felt like I should, and so I went in to give her a goodnight kiss, and she
turned into it.
She turned into me. So she kissed me first, technically. I kissed her on the cheek first, but she kissed me on the lips first. And yeah, that's when we decided to start dating.
So we started dating April 14th of 2007.
She was having a hard time trying to decide between me and her missionary, so we dated a couple months, and her missionary was coming back in June. And then Andrea's parents didn't know anything about me, and so they were concerned because they'd never met me, and Stacy may or may not have said anything negative about me to them. So all they had was what Stacy said, and so they weren't real excited about the situation.
And I think partly because, for 2 years I had been saying, hey, you know what? This guy on a mission, I think I'm gonna marry him when he gets home. And so my parents, even though they really didn't know this guy much better than they knew Glenn, I'd been talking about him for 2 years, and Glenn was, all of a sudden I meet this guy in February and we're friends, and then start dating in April, and they're like, okay. They just think it's another just guy I'm dating, because I dated a few guys during that 2 years, but nothing serious. So my parents weren't sure what to think about it.
Yeah, and I was out of work when I met her, and so I think Stacy had told her mom that I wasn't working or going to school, and so they didn't think my future was very bright, and so I can understand why they were a little concerned about it. They didn't know me, I wasn't working, and I wasn't going to school for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they were a little concerned, and so it made it a little bit hard because they rightfully so, they're trying to talk Andrea out from being too serious with me and throwing off a good thing with this missionary, and basically throwing that away. And so they're trying to convince her not to do that, and it did cause a lot of stress. My family
loved me from the beginning.
Yeah, they were very happy.
They would have kicked Glenn out before they kicked me.
Yeah, they would have kept her instead of me. So, but so it made dating pretty interesting. We dated, and then around June is when she really started trying to decide, right before a missionary came home, who she wanted to pick. And I know she did the pros and cons list and all that stuff, but I'll let her tell that side of it.
Not long after he got home from his mission, a week, I think, he was going back out to Colorado where he had served his mission, and to see some of the people he had gotten to join the church go through the LDS temple. And so his parents bought me a plane ticket to go out to see him, because it was going to be a few months before he made it back out to Utah for school, which now that I think about it, I think is a little weird, but his parents loved me too. And they were great people, and I think they figured, oh, it's just a few days, it'll be fine. So I went out just to kind of see where things were with us, because again, I felt like he deserved a fair try. And when I was out there, I missed Glenn a ton, and I just felt a little awkward being with this other guy. Like, it just wasn't right. But I don't know, I think sometimes when you're in those situations, your brain tries to make sense of things that your heart already knows, and so it makes things up. Because for like a week or two after I got back, I was really trying to figure out who I was supposed to marry. Like, it was super stressful for me. I was praying a lot, and yeah, we both prayed a lot to figure out what we were supposed to do, because at this point it was either we get married or we break up. There wasn't oh, let's just keep dating for fun type thing. So I was like, you know what? I had made a pros and cons list like he said, and he claims there's like 3 or 5 pros in his favor.
Pretty sure there's 2, but there was 2 on my side.
I don't remember. I don't even remember what they were.
I treated her better. I remember that one.
Yeah, but I think it was more the Spirit saying, you know what, this is who you're supposed to be with. And so we decided to get married, and then on July 4th, we hiked Mount Timpanogos, a big mountain out here, and we got up super early, like 3 or 2 in the morning.
We left at midnight.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
at midnight.
So I think it's a 14-mile hike. We left at midnight to start hiking up there. And, well, let's backtrack a little bit. When she was in Colorado with this missionary, that was probably the most stressful time of my whole life up to then. And I was really stressing out. And I prayed a ton. I went to the temple, I think, 3 times or 2 times while she was gone, just to try and make sure my feelings were good. I already knew I wanted to marry her, and I felt like it was a good thing to marry her. And she needed that confirmation, and I wanted to be fair for her and this other guy, even though that was really hard. But, yeah, I actually waited. She didn't know this, but I waited for her to get back to her apartment when she was coming back, because I missed her so much, and I was so... She said it was a little awkward for her. It was really awkward for me, having her be out with some other guy right when I was really starting to like her and getting to know her. This is about a month before we got engaged, so...
Yeah,
So yeah, after that, she was trying to decide. I had decided the whole time, but I was trying to make sure she had her space and make the decision on her own. And so she went to the temple a few times by herself, and we went to the temple together a few times. Did some baptisms there, but yeah. So on the 4th of July, we got up at midnight, and we'd gone actually to pick out rings already. She'd basically decided, she'd chosen me basically by this point.
By this point we knew we were getting married.
So she'd made her decision. Like I said, I won by 2 on the pros and cons list. I remember that pretty clear. So, it was obvious it was me. I'm just kidding.
By landslide.
Yeah, by landslide. No, this guy was a good guy, but one of the things was I treated her better, and that's a big thing, in my opinion. Anyway, so... The 4th of July, 2007, we're hiking Temp to watch the sunrise. We went and picked out rings, and the ring was supposed to take a couple weeks to get here, but I'd gotten it after 3 or 4 days is all.
Yeah, it was really fast.
Yeah, and so I had the ring with me, and I was going to propose while we were watching the sunrise. So this was planned before we were going to get engaged, this hike.
Yeah, so I didn't know he had the ring.
Yeah. She didn't know I had the ring. Of course, she was hoping I'd had it basically ever since we picked it out. But, yeah, so we'd hiked Temp, and we were watching the sunrise. And I was getting ready to propose, and this stupid mountain goat, this big, white, ugly mountain goat, comes and stands about 15 yards from us and just stares at us. And
it kind of unnerved Glenn even more than
I was already nervous because I was about to propose, but this stupid mountain goat just sat there and was staring at us, and I was just waiting for him to keep going. She had no idea. She probably thought it was cool that this mountain goat was right here, and I'm like, get out of here, go. I wanted to throw rocks at it, but I didn't, because, that would have ruined the moment even more.
And it was so beautiful up there, because the sun was just coming up, and there were wildflowers, and it was pretty awesome.
It was really pretty, yeah. Yeah, and this was before I'd really gotten into photography. I had a nice camera, and I loved taking pictures. So I only got a few okay pictures of the sunrise. and then a couple pictures of us. But yeah, so right when the sun was coming up, I got down to propose, and I pulled the ring out, and she goes, "Oh, you got it!"
Yeah.
Or, "Oh, did you get it early?" She asked me a question, or
I said, "Oh, you got the ring."
Or you got the ring already, or you got the ring, and
So, yeah.
and I was already nervous. My brain was going all over the place, and so I stopped, and I was like, do I respond to her, or do I ask her to marry me? And so my brain was having a hard time figuring out what to do. And
I think you just were like, yeah.
Yeah, I just went, yeah, and I can't remember if I even officially said, "Do you want to get married?"
I don't remember.
but
we got married, so.
But yeah, we got engaged. It was pretty fun. It was really awesome. We were super excited. We went and had lunch with my parents and told them what happened, and then Andrea told her parents, and they were less than thrilled because they didn't know who I was still, and they thought she was throwing away the relationship with this missionary they'd heard about for 2 years. And I think it just really turned out that she was the oldest. They didn't want her to get married yet.
Or they were just nervous.
Yeah.
But it turned out great. My parents love him now, and
yeah, I went out there. I was really nervous to meet her parents because I knew they weren't thrilled about our relationship. But we flew out there at the end of July to meet them the first time, almost August, and I was already really nervous to go out there, and the flights were horrible, and we ended up getting stuck in the Colorado airport, the Denver airport.
Overnight.
We had to spend the night there. So I spent the night with their daughter in the airport.
But it was in the airport.
It was in the airport. Obviously nothing like that could have happened. But I was still nervous about the fact that they knew that anyway, I don't know why I was nervous. I was just thinking of everything that possibly could go wrong in my head. But then we flew out there and met him. I loved Andrea's dad right from the beginning, and me and her mom love each other now, but it was a little tense at the beginning. She took me on a walk, and that was pretty rough. She tried to convince me not to marry Andrea for about an hour, just the two of us. But I understand where she was coming from. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know anything about me. I was pretty quiet around people I didn't know, especially adults that I didn't know. And I had a really hard time sharing my feelings. And it wasn't until I was with her dad that I said, "I really love your daughter. I want to marry her," and I wanted to ask, make sure, and he gave me his permission. So yeah. Then we were engaged. We took a few engagement pictures out there, and then we set the date for September 21st. We'd already set that. They wanted to push us back a year, but we didn't want to.
I think we originally set it for Christmas break.
Yeah, I think that was right.
But my brothers had a fall break from school, so they had a whole week off in September. And so we were excited to get married, and we didn't really want a winter wedding because it's cold in Utah in the winter. And so we bumped it up to their fall break because it was a good time to come out. And so, yep, we got married September 21st on a Friday. And I was actually doing my internship teaching, so I think I only got 2 days off.
You took Thursday and Friday off, and
Yeah.
you got married Friday.
Yeah, I only had 2 days off, so we really didn't have time for honeymoon. We went up to Salt Lake and stayed in a hotel that was supposed to be really fancy.
It wasn't.
But we wish we would have just spent the money doing something fun and stayed at a cheap hotel or stayed at our apartment instead of spending the money on this
hotel.
fancy old
I think it was
hotel.
like $230 for that night, and the room wasn't much better than like a Best Western.
Yeah.
So if we had to do it over again, we wouldn't have spent $230. But we did. It was downtown Salt Lake, and we did go to the Big Iguana and ate breakfast there, and we had some fun up there, and it was good. The funny thing is our wedding day was beautiful, sunny, warm.
It was perfect. It was like
perfect.
70s?
Yeah, it was in the 70s, perfect weather. And then the next day, as cold front came in, and it was like 40s and 30s, and there's snow and
It
rain.
rained. And we were so glad we got married on the 21st, not the 22nd.
Yeah, it was cold and miserable. But anyway, so that's how our life started. Andrea was teaching, and we waited a little bit before we had Brayden, our oldest, and then we wanted to space them about 2 years apart, and so.
Yep, Brayden and Caitlin are 23 months apart because she was almost 3 weeks early. So if she had come on her due date, they would have been pretty close, or pretty close to
2 years.
Exactly, 2 years. But so they were 23 months apart, and then having two so little, we decided to push Emma out just a little bit
Like 2.5 years after Caitlin.
Yeah, she's about 2.5 years after Caitlin, and then Alexa's about 2.5 years after. Well, like almost exactly 2.5 years after Emma. So we're happy with how we spaced them apart. We love our kids, and we're grateful for them and for the wonderful family we have.
Yeah, with Andrea's pregnancies, we'll do another video on that one. She wanted to do a birth story video for our last one, and she'll explain her pregnancies. But she goes into labor, and then she's ready to have the baby, like, immediately. So
yeah, so I'll do another video hopefully soon. I'd like to do it soon since Alexa's 8.5 months old now, and
haven't done the birth story yet.
Haven't done the birth story yet. So hopefully we'll get that done soon. But life with 4 kids is crazy, so sometimes things don't happen as we want them to. But I'm sure you've seen that from our vlogs, that our kids are busy and fun, and they each have their own very unique personalities, and they're all different, but they love to be together.
Yeah, and I'm very busy with my work. I do real estate and photography, and I started photography about when Braden was 1 is when I started charging people for that. And it kind of just took off. Actually, Stacy, Andrea's sister's wedding, was the first one I actually took pictures at, and that kind of what started it all that out, and now that's a big part of our lives. I mean, that's the studio stuff is all because of that. This camera we're using is because of that.
Yeah.
So
that's great. I mean, I can't imagine our lives any other way. We've been blessed with a beautiful home, and Glenn has beautiful kids. Glenn has a great job and gets to do photography and real estate on the side.
Yep. Tried it the other way around, and that was stressful, so we went back.
Yeah, and he's worked hard so that I can stay home with the kids. We've thrown out the idea of me working every once in a while, but the cost of daycare is crazy, so it really wouldn't have made me working worth it. And has 3 great jobs, 3 great skills, and so it would have just been hard to try to balance both of us working.
Yeah.
It's much easier for me to do all the at-home, managing the kids and managing most of the home stuff, and Glenn managing his 3 jobs. So
yeah, I got to a point where it was too busy, so I backed off a little bit. Been able to spend a little bit more time, and so things are working out, so I don't have to work quite as much.
Yeah, I think the Lord's really blessing Glenn for his desire to spend more time with his family, because we've been able to make it with him working a little bit less. He's still pretty busy, but working a little less so that he can spend more time with the kids. And I can sure tell when Glenn hasn't spent much time with the kids, because they get kind of naughty when they haven't had their dad around.
Get pretty rambunctious and disrespectful in ways. You can definitely see the difference a father makes in their kids, even if just being around is all it is. It makes a big difference. And we can see in our kids, the days I go, or the weeks I go several days without seeing them, they really start acting up. I think they need me as a role model for them, and just to help them out. And they're usually better behaved when I spend time with them every week. So we're blessed that I can do that right now, and it's still kind of crazy. I work more than I want, but it's slowing down, and it's finally making it good for us. We have a beautiful house. We have cars that drive.
Yeah. But not always great, but they drive.
They drive. They're not problem-free. Well, my car is pretty problem-free, but we've had a few car problems in the last few years. But anyway, life is good. I'm very grateful I made the decision to marry Andrea, and that it worked out the way it is.
And I'm very grateful I chose Glenn.
Yes, me too. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it and got to know us a little bit better. Please subscribe if you want to see more of us, more of our vlogs and our kids. Of course, we share a lot of that. Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Oh, and we have a face paint channel, so check out our videos from there, and if we can get 100 subscribers on this channel or 100 subscribers on our face paint channel, we told the kids that we'd let them paint our faces. So help them out so that they can finally get to paint our faces.
Yeah, they're pretty excited for that. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.